He's not been found. Nobody should give up, ever, until that boy is found.
What I'm going to do is continue to search for Elijah Vue.
The emptiness left in his absence is a void that cannot be filled by anything else. Elijah, if you can hear us, know that you are deeply missed and loved, and we will not rest until you are safely back in our arms.
We will find him and we will bring him home.
The latest on the disappearance and alleged abuse of Elijah Vue. Plus, a stolen chain allegedly leads to a 16-year-old beaten to death. Was his death the result of bullying or gang activity? And James Crumbly told police nothing was wrong with his son. We're talking about how his denial may tip the scales of justice. It's all coming up next for you, plus much more right here on Opening Statements. Good Monday morning to you and welcome to Opening Statements. I'm your host, Julie Grant. Just like in an actual trial, here on this show, we get you all ready for what's ahead in court. I say the show's kind of like coffee in court. We're relaxed, it's morning time. We get you all warmed up and ready to go. So right now, why don't you grab that cup of coffee, because it's time for my opening statement. A 3-year-old child doesn't just vanish. Precious Elijah Vue from Wisconsin is no exception. Sadly, he's still missing this morning as crews continue searching for him. He was last known to be with his mother's boyfriend, Jesse Vang. Vang said he got up from a nap, and Elijah was gone. I say that's hogwash. I don't believe that for a second, do you? Police say Elijah Vue was sent by his mother to live with Vang at his apartment so he could, quote, learn to be a man. Are you kidding me? A 3-year-old who probably hasn't even learned how to tie his shoes is suddenly expected to be a man? How about his mom, Katrina Baur, learning to be a good mother? There's an idea. The boyfriend confirmed to police that Elijah was staying with him to correct his bad behaviors. He's 3. I want to say to them, how about you two correcting your bad behavior? As boyfriend and mom are both currently facing criminal neglect charges. And I think much worse is coming for them. I pray to God that Elijah Vue is found alive, because those two don't give me much confidence. Police said that boyfriend Jesse Vang would make Elijah stand up for 1 to 3 hours straight as a punishment. Make that beautiful child take cold showers for dirtying his diaper. And then threaten Elijah with cold water if he wouldn't comply with his orders. Vang was the enforcer of the rules in the relationship. In close, I say, how about we have a new rule where people who mistreat children must suffer the exact same torment they inflicted their kids with? I like that rule. How about you? That's my opening statement, my friends, on this Monday morning. Let me know if you like it. Right now, I want to give you what's on your daily docket.
The shooter was coming closer to me. As he got very close, I realized it was Ethan, and it didn't seem right to me because Ethan always seemed like a sweet kid. I just couldn't picture that being him, so I talked to him. Did you see that he was holding anything? Yeah, he had a gun in his hand.
All right, friends, here's a look at the cases we're following for you today on Court TV. In Michigan, testimony resumes at 9 a.m. in the trial against the Oxford school shooter's father. In Idaho, court resumes at noon in the jealous ex-trooper murder trial with defendant Dan Howard. And in New Hampshire, a hearing over the estate of Harmony Montgomery will take place at 9 a.m. We start in Wisconsin, where search efforts for little Elijah Vue have entered a 3rd week. Police have finished their search of a landfill and have now focused their efforts on 3 different areas. Take a look. The Baird Creek Greenway, the Krista McAuliffe Park, and also Dan's Park. And as the search continues, more details are surfacing surrounding what little Elijah was going through at the time he disappeared. So according to the amended criminal complaint against his mother, Katrina Baur, there's a photo showing Elijah laying down on a bed with a blindfold over his eyes, appearing to have bruising on his jawline and his neck on the left side, as well as bruising on his upper left arm. That makes me mad. How about you? What might have really happened to Elijah, and what do these bits of information just included in that updated criminal information tell us about what might have happened to that poor child? Let's bring in two great guests to talk about it. Retired FBI Special Agent Jennifer Coffendorfer and former Director of the Department of Family and Children Services in Georgia, Tom Rawlings. Good morning to you both. Agent Coffendorfer, may I begin with you, please? Talking about these new details, the search efforts. Tell me where your head is if you are one of these investigators who's leading the charge to find Elijah.
Well, when I read the documents, you know, the criminal complaint affidavit, it's so disturbing because this is actually what he was willing to admit he did. 1 to 3 hours in a corner for a 3-year-old. 3-year-olds, for anybody who hasn't had a 3-year-old, they are clingy. They look up to their parents for guidance, for help, for mercy. And to think this child was really thrown with somewhat of a stranger to be an enforcer on him. Obviously, we know now from bruising and being blindfolded, he only touched on the tip of the iceberg of likely the punishments he inflicted on little Elijah.
That's right. No, I love what you're saying there, Jennifer. He only admitted what he thought wouldn't be too bad or get him in criminal hot water. We have a clip of the prosecutor talking about how apparently mom, Katrina Baur, told Jesse Vang not to talk to police. Let's watch.
She also was encouraging the co-actor not to cooperate with law enforcement. On February 20th, she was messaging the co-actor to not say too much. Don't let them, or no, don't talk, ask for an attorney, those types of things.
Well, it sounds like she doesn't want to help. Tom Rawlings, what do you say about this situation? Your thoughts, please.
Yeah, thanks, Julie. This isn't punishment or enforcement of rules. This is nothing but torture. All I can think is that these two individuals are so sick that they would do this to a small, vulnerable child. And of course, we also have evidence that they did similar things to Katrina Baur's other child, her 6-year-old, I believe, daughter. Left her in the car in the freezing cold for hours while they I think they were actually planning some kind of romantic escapade during that time period. These folks need to be put away for a long time, and I think the best case scenario here is that somehow Elijah maybe had been put with someone else, and perhaps we can find him, but I really fear the worst here.
I know, Tom. Sadly, I do too. Jennifer, I have a clip I'd like for you to take a look at, please. This is from Katrina Baur's defense attorney, so Elijah's mother's attorney, talking about Katrina's state of mind right now.
Obviously, this is a very high-profile case. There's a lot of high emotion going on, but there's also high emotion going on with Miss Baur. She's been worried sick, not knowing where her son is.
She's worried sick? Is she? Agent Coffendorfer, do you believe it?
No, I don't believe it. Anyone who would send their child off at only 3 years old to be made, quote unquote, into a man has no concept of love for that small child. Clearly, she's not worried about anything but her own hide.
Isn't that the truth? I have another clip of the prosecutor talking about these additional neglect allegations they've used to amend that criminal complaint upward. Let's take a look together.
not only were we dealing with the defendant sending the child to Rivers for discipline, or the boot camp as they described it, to make that child fearful of the co-actor so that when the child returns to her residence, he would behave better. There is also evidence that on February 14th, she left the 6-year-old unattended in a vehicle for approximately an hour in cold weather. The temperature around that time was around probably 27 to 30 degrees with the vehicle turned off.
Tom Rawlings, what do you think of this plan these two came up with, where they would make the 3-year-old fearful of Vang so that when he came home to mom's house, he would behave better?
Really, he wasn't behaving better. He was cowed into submission. And I think you said it well earlier. A 3-year-old needs love and affection and caring. If they soil their diaper, it's because they haven't been properly potty trained by an authoritative parent. You know, one of the things I wonder in this case is, where's Child Protective Services? Did they have any prior involvement with these folks? Because it looks as if both Baur and Vang just had it out for children and should not have been around children at all.
Right. Preach, Tom. I love what you're saying. Where is the Department of Children and Family Services? How do they not know about this, especially after the prior incident that you both have touched on, you know, with the daughter, with her being left in the freezing car in the wintertime? I mean, this is appalling. And when you think about these sick punishments they gave the child, mom wanted him to believe that going home was a privilege for him. Agent Coffindaffer, last word on this to you, please.
Well, first of all, a child is a privilege. And it's sick when these individuals torture children like this. But I want to take Tom's message one step further. Where was the extended family? It's very interesting to see now everybody, oh, we're going to, you know, we miss you, our hearts are empty. This is something that would not be unnoticed, the punishment and the way this child was treated and the way the child would be acting with this kind of abuse. So where were they?
Right. Preach, Jennifer. I love it. You're absolutely right. He could have used somebody else looking out for him and protecting him besides those two accused defendants. We'll leave it there for now, but of course, any updates on the search for Elijah Vue, you will hear it right here on Court TV. Jennifer Coffindaffer, Tom Rawlings are staying with us. We want you at home to do the same, please. We got a great show that continues. Here's what's next.
It's also been a month since a group of boys decided to beat my nephew and leave him on the side of the road.
16-year-old Preston Lord beaten to death at a Halloween party. Was it bullying or was it gang activity? Up next, accused Delphi murderer Richard Allen wants his day in court moved up.
The first parents in America to be charged in a mass school shooting.
Involuntary manslaughter and 4 counts of it.
The gun recovered from the shooter was the same gun that was purchased by his father.
Jennifer was found guilty.
Who is responsible for storing the gun?
Now the school shooter's father is set to stand trial.
My husband is.
The school shooter dad trial. Live coverage today on Court TV.
Live.
Guys. Downhill. Guys. Downhill.
Now for what's trending in true crime. The attorneys for Delphi murder suspect Richard Allen want his trial date moved up from its scheduled October start date. Allen's charged with 2 counts of murder in the killings of Abby Williams and Libby German back in 2017. And in a motion filed by his defense team, his attorneys are saying that they want the pending murder case to take place within the 70 days of the ruling. Now, according to the Indiana Criminal Rule 4B, quote, a defendant held in jail on a pending charge may move for an early trial. If such motion is filed, a trial must be commenced no later than 70 calendar dates from the date of such motion. The rule goes on to say if a defendant is held beyond the time limit of this section and moves for dismissal, the criminal charge against the defendant must be dismissed. So if the court grants that motion, Allen will likely go to trial by May instead of in October. So our question this morning for our power panel, do you think Richard Allen's trial will be moved? Let's bring them in now. Still with me, retired FBI Special Agent Jennifer Coffindaffer, law enforcement expert Sonny Slaughter, and retired criminal defense attorney, the man who famously represented Jodi Arias and saved her life, Kirk Nurmi. Big welcome to you all. Kirk, I would love to start with you, my lawyer on our power panel, looking at the rule, and perhaps you've probably had the same situation at one time or another throughout your career. What do you think is going to happen here?
I think the language of the statute is pretty clear, Julie. It's a must, or the case can be dismissed. It's not discretionary with the judge. The judge is forced to set the trial within the 70-day period once the defense moves for that that rule to be invoked. So ultimately, I think the judge's hand is going to be tied. And, you know, regardless of what we think about Mr. Allen's guilt or innocence, we all might have our own opinion about that. But ultimately, remember, we have a judicial system that's based on innocent until proven guilty. And in long-term incarceration, we have so many people that are awaiting trial incarcerated without having been found guilty. So provisions like these provide for that and should be enforced, and I think will be enforced.
Kirk, appreciate it. And I agree with you that it will happen and this motion will be granted. I'm a little suspicious personally as to why, and I'm curious if my law enforcement experts on the panel are suspicious as well. Sonny, would you start us off on this conversation, please? Why do you think Richard Allen might want his trial date moved up so far in advance?
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Julie. I'm wondering if they believe, or if his defense team believes, that they don't have enough forensic evidence to tie him to the murder, which means they're going to have to push through so much information, so much technology, so much data, and they're not going to be able to pull it off. I think they're hedging their bet. That might be one of the reasons, and hopefully they've done their due diligence, and that's not going to play into why the trial won't happen.
I like what you're saying there, Sonny. They want to maybe hold the state's feet to the fire, so to speak. Yeah, very well could be. Agent Coffindaffer, to you, last but certainly not least, your thoughts on this, please.
Well, I think one of the main reasons is Richard Allen has been held in a maximum security prison since his incarceration. He's not in a jail. He's in a maximum security prison. This is the worst possible incarceration condition that somebody can be held in. He's out only 23 hours a day. His cell is completely locked up with just a hole. It's very difficult to communicate with his attorneys. His conditions are dire. And I think that in part is part of the reason he just wants this trial to happen.
Excellent points. Jennifer, thank you for that. We'll leave it there for now. In other trending news, a Maryland family is outraged after a man is fatally shot in his apartment by police, all of which was caught on police body cam.
Show me your hands. Show me your hands. Bring your over here. Show me your hands. Show me your... Shots fired.
Officer Braxton Shelton was called to investigate a reported burglary in progress at the residence. And according to the body camera footage, Shelton did not announce himself as police before shooting Melvin J. within 7 seconds of him entering the apartment. A statement from the Maryland Office of the Attorney General reads, quote, during the encounter, the officer discharged his service weapon, striking Mr. J., who was pronounced dead on scene. No officers were injured. 2 handguns were recovered from the scene, one in Mr. J's pocket and the other in the kitchen sink. Now, the family of Melvin J. has since announced their intention to sue the Prince George County Police Department. An investigation to determine whether Shelton should be criminally charged is ongoing. So the question we're asking our power panel, who do you think is in the wrong here? I have some more video I want to show to you all now. And Agent Coffindaffer, I would love for you to walk us through this. You've served on the SWAT team and done a whole lot throughout your FBI career. And there was something that stuck out at me and I know others on my Court TV team when we watched this video. Take a look at the way the officer is holding his gun. This is video from his body camera. And he's holding it to the side with one hand. Agent, is there anything wrong with that, in your opinion?
Excuse me, yes.
Take your time. If you need to get a drink, go right ahead, and I'll come back to you. Why don't I go to Sonny? Sonny, would you take a look at I know you're watching intently as we're looking at the video here. The way he's holding the firearm, you know, I don't have the law enforcement training you have, Sonny, you know, but I have a little bit of training on firearms, and that just, it looks not like something a police officer would do.
It doesn't look like how a police officer would hold their gun and enter without announcing that they're law enforcement. It is what I would call a side cock that is more gangster style than law enforcement presence. Why didn't they announce themselves? All of this is problematic. And the whole glove on the gun, I'm not sure what is going on here. I would really like to see the full body cam, but I think this is going to be problematic for Prince George County. I think there needs to be, well, I'm sure there's going to be more than one investigation. There's an internal investigation, and then if there's going to be a suit, of course, there'll be an external investigation, an IA investigation. I'm not sure what is going on here, but it does not look appropriate for law enforcement to enter this way and hold the gun that way.
Sonny, thank you. Thank you. Right. And I have a feeling Agent Coffindaffer, who teaches firearms training all the time, is going to say the same. Agent.
Yes, actually from A to Z, this is a good video on exactly what not to do. He does not stay behind the well of cover. He should have two hands on that gun. He shouldn't have gloves on because that means your trigger control is compromised unless you cut out the fingertip. He should be slowly not only knocking and announcing and saying, police, there's no reason to enter. You should call that individual to you the minute he comes into sight and bring him to you so you maintain your cover. I don't think it's even going to be proven that he purposefully shot that gun. This is probably an AD, an accidental discharge from this film. Julie, it's horrific, and they need to get their checkbook out.
Jennifer, thank you for that. Kirk Nurmi, I'd like for you to expound, please, on something that Jennifer touched on, the lack of announcing here, right? That's something really key. I know attorneys are going to look at that. Everyone assessing this case from the Attorney General's office is going to look at that. Not saying police going into someone's residence. Would you speak about the rights that Melvin J. had that day in his apartment, please?
Yeah, Julie, that whole idea of knock and announce in that Fourth Amendment, the right we have to be secure in our homes, not having law enforcement, as what happened here, kick in the door, guns a-blazing as this officer did. I mean, there's so much wrong with this, as the ladies have already pointed out, but I would say, to me, as a member of the public, this looks like an execution. He kicks in the door, guns a-blazing, and shoots. And it's beyond, to me, it's beyond the idea of a civil suit for this county. To me, this officer should be charged for second-degree murder. It's pretty obvious the way he came in. He did not announce. He violated the rights of Mr. J, and then, of course, took his life. So to me, this is a cut and dry case from what we see here. And the fact that if this officer is not charged, to me, that would be an outrage.
I'm with you, Kirk. Our hearts go out to Melvin J's family as they cope with the loss of their loved one. Got to leave it there for now. Kirk is coming back in a couple of minutes for our Spotlight segment on a case in Arizona. Sonny Slaughter's coming back in our next hour of Court TV Live. And we've got to say goodbye and a big thank you to Jennifer Coffindaffer. Here's Here's what we have coming up next for you on Opening Statements. 7 suspects indicted in the death of an Arizona teen. But was Preston Lord's murder the result of bullying or a local gang? And testimony resumes shortly against the Oxford school shooter's father, James Crumbly. We'll go there live together when the judge takes the bench. This morning, we're shining a spotlight on the tragic murder of 16-year-old Preston Lord. He was beaten to death at a local Halloween party last year, allegedly all over a stolen chain. He later died as a result of the injuries that he sustained in that beating, and his death was ruled a homicide last month. On Wednesday, the district attorney announced indictments for 4 people on the charge of first-degree murder, which was celebrated news for the community who was mourning this young man.
First degree.
We fought for this publicly, and I'm just going to say...
We're coming for the rest.
Yeah, exactly.
And you're all going to pay for what you did to Preston.
Yes, yep.
And to our community.
And since then, 3 more suspects have been arrested. All 7 of them are a mix of adults and minors and have all been charged with first-degree murder and kidnapping in Preston Lord's death. Let's talk about this some more. How does something like this happen? Was it a traditional bullying incident that was taken to the extremes of death? Or was it gang activity? Was this some kind of gang-related activity? As police are digging into this group of people and saying they've learned, they call themselves the Gilbert Goons. Let's bring in 2 great guests now to dissect all of this. Retired criminal defense attorney, licensed to practice in Arizona, Kirk Nurmi, and the former director of the Department of Family and Children Services in the state of Georgia, Tom Rawlings. Kirk, not only have you served as a criminal defense attorney in the state of Arizona for many, many years, you also still live there now and live there close to this area where Preston Lord was beaten to death. So you're hearing the community vibe on this. Talk to us, please, Kirk, about what you're hearing, what you're learning, and then your thoughts knowing this new step that prosecutors have taken in charging all of those people.
Yeah, Julie, it's certainly been something that's shocked the conscience of the community around here, just particularly because of the age and the trivial nature of what happened here. And the arrests, certainly, of all these people are welcome news. I think the question you asked on the top of this issue is whether or not these Gilbert Goons were quote unquote a gang or not. I think that is really technical assessment under Arizona law, and they're going to have to look. The county attorney is going to have to look at sealed criminal records because some of these people, they're adults now, but they were probably juveniles at the time this happened and or certainly prior to that. So they're going to need to look at their criminal history to see if they really are a quote unquote gang. Anybody can call themselves anything and not really be a gang under Arizona law. So that is something that prosecutors are going to have to look at moving forward when they go forward with these charges of first-degree murder.
Right, Kirk. I've got a little bit of information from the Arizona Police Department talking about the Gilbert Goons, saying initially Gilbert PD did not have any reports where the victims or the suspects referred to Gilbert Goons. However, in recent information received from victims, there are references to their assailants as being associated with Gilbert Goons. It's important to note that this investigation will determine if the Gilbert Goons can be classified under Arizona law as a criminal street gang. Kirk, prior to this case coming up and this being talked about, had you ever heard of the Gilbert Goons?
No, I mean, those goons, I've been out of the game, fortunately, for a long time. Those Gilbert Goons probably would have been in grade school. I'd certainly heard about them in the news when the criminal activity started, but this is something that is obviously arisen in the past few years.
Mm-hmm. Right. You know, and I was just saying to my friends on Facebook, doing a Facebook Live talking about this, that, you know, if there could be a local teeny tiny gang, a small group of people at a high school that can technically be technically be a gang under Arizona law, as Kirk said, and not be a type of gang that we might be familiar with, like the Bloods or the Crips, a gang we may have heard of no matter where you live in America. This one is not that. Tom Rawlings, I have a clip I'd like to play for you, please. This is of Preston Lord's stepmother talking about the recent arrests.
We are standing where Preston's life was taken, but we are here to take what his life meant back. Preston's light will continue to shine through this darkness and bring out the truth. These arrests are only the first steps in getting justice for Preston.
Truer words have never been spoken. I mean, there's a long road ahead. Tom, talk to me here. You've seen an awful lot in your many years of service in the state of Georgia. When you hear about a teenager being beaten so badly he dies from his injuries, tell me where your mind goes, please.
Well, Julie, obviously you feel terrible for this child and for his family. But you also have to really, I think justice in this case is not simply about prosecuting these offenders. It probably also is about figuring out what is wrong with this community. This is, I think, a fairly upscale community, suburb of Phoenix. And these were kids who a number of them had been doing this. There were prior charges of their beating the living tar out of other kids, and nothing happened to them. So we need to think about the role of parents, the role of holding our children accountable, disciplining children, so that it doesn't go this far, so they don't suddenly become, kids who can run around and call themselves the goons and just beat people up for the fun of it.
Right, Tom. And I like what you said. You really got me thinking that I'm wondering who else may be held responsible. When you said parents, I thought, where were the parents at this Halloween party? Were they home? Were they supervising the kids? I'm thinking not, huh? Tom, tell me, what does the investigation look like when it comes to those parents? Might DCF go to their home if they know that this Halloween party took place and a child was beaten so badly he died?
Yes, certainly. There have been plenty of cases around the country in which parents have allowed their underage children to, for example, drink alcohol, use drugs at parties, have these unsupervised parties. And when bad things have happened to children, the parents can be held responsible either through the child protection process in some cases, or certainly criminally. And in fact, I would note that the renter defendant here, his father was actually arrested about the same time for possession of psychedelic mushrooms. So this seems to be at least partially a parental control issue.
Wow. Tom, you're right. It starts in the home. Parents need to be responsible for their children no matter where they are. And this was just deplorable, what happened to Preston Lord. Kirk Nurmi, tell me, in that group of suspects, we've got adults, we've got minors. Do you think these minors are going to be prosecuted as adults?
I do. I do think all of them will be prosecuted as adults. Arizona law allows for those over the age of 15 to be charged as an adult, if I remember correctly. I suspect the county attorney will proceed on that account and charge them all equally as adults with first-degree murder.
Kirk Nurmi, Tom Rawlings, great information from you both as always. We've got to leave it there. Thank you so much. When we come back, here's what's next on Opening Statements.
No, I did not know.
James Crumbly claiming he had no idea his son was struggling or was capable of carrying out a massacre. But will the jury believe him? We'll talk about it in What's Tipping the Scales.
The first parents in America to be charged in a mass school shooting.
Involuntary manslaughter and 4 counts of it.
The gun recovered from the shooter was the same gun that was purchased by his father.
Jennifer was found guilty.
Who is responsible for storing the gun?
Now the school shooter's father is set to stand trial.
My husband is.
The school shooter dad trial. Live coverage today on Court TV.
There are 3 people in this world who are criminally responsible
were the deaths of Hannah, Madison, Tate, and Justin. The shooter who committed murder, no doubt he's responsible, but so are his parents. And not for murder. They're responsible for their gross negligence.
Now for what's tipping the scales of justice. Testimony set to resume at the top of the hour in the manslaughter trial for defendant James Crumbley. Now so far, the defense claims that James Crumbley had no idea that his son and Michigan school shooter, of course, Ethan Crumbley, had any idea where the gun was stored at the family's home. Now, on Friday, that case became a little harder because in a portion of his initial interview with police, James once again insisted that the gun and the ammunition were safely put away. According to the state's opening statement, the gun was not locked away properly. The lock had never even been put on the gun. It was still in the packaging. And Ethan clearly knew where it was stored, right? So will James Crumbley's statements to police tip the scales of justice, perhaps against him? Here to discuss, we have a great guest with us. He is a former solicitor, meaning prosecutor in the state of South Carolina. He also served as a SLED agent there, too. So he's got law enforcement and prosecutorial experience, and he's the nicest guy you could ever meet. Tommy Pope on the show today. Good morning, my friend. All right,
Good morning, Julie.
James Crumbley, my goodness, Tommy. Watching this interview, I want you to, harken back to your days in law enforcement. Talk to me about how that process goes when you have a guy like that, what you're trying to get to with them, and how you think this interview ultimately went.
We've heard a lot on interviews this last couple of weeks with the different trials. And, honestly, you're just trying to get to the truth. But you're also, the problem when you start with a lie and you weave it together, it overlaps each other. And so that's why you see these extensive length of interviews, sometimes with conflicting information. We've heard a lot of the viewers concerned that law enforcement can present false information, like your spouse told us everything or something of that nature. So they're really just drawing out to see what he gives them. I am a fan. We didn't have, and back in my day, they weren't video recording. They were only handwriting the interrogations. And so I like this for justice purposes, for investigative purposes, for the jury purpose. You get to see it just as law enforcement saw it.
Definitely, Tommy. And then when there is a lie, you get to catch the defendant in it, right? Let's talk about the lie about the lock, right? He's saying the gun is secured, all that. I thought prosecutors did something brilliant. It was one of the things I enjoyed the most in their opening statement. So I want to go back and play the moment where they highlight for the jury using their PowerPoint that they put up during the courtroom, showing them the condition of the lock. Let's watch.
You see, he was given the tools to make that firearm safe. He was provided a cable lock. It was provided by the manufacturer, by Sig Sauer. It went to the firearm dealer who sold it to James Crumbley. It was for that gun. This is what it looked like the day the gun was purchased, November the 26th, 2021. This is what it looks like now. Still in its original packaging, still with both keys in the lock.
Oh, Tommy, that was one of those moments I thought brilliant. Bravo, Mr. Prosecutor. You are a former prosecutor. You were the prosecutor in your district and the elected solicitor for many years there. Tell me, what did you think of that incorporation of the technology and to not make the jury wait to see the lock?
I remember one time I had a judge in a death penalty case, and I was arguing a part of it, and he said, "Solicitor, if you'll sit down, I'm about to rule with you." In other words, if I was using too many words, if I would shut up, he was going to rule with me. I could not think of a more concise way, because what they're trying to say, and on so many different layers, is he had an opportunity, he didn't use it, he didn't even try, he claimed he did. So in that one video or picture, you've got what he could have done, what he didn't do, what he lied about, and that was tight. And obviously I like that. Now, selfishly, I like to save them for closing and do kind of your Columbo moment, where suddenly I was just looking and I just realized, and let the jury realize it with you. But I think it was a solid use of a piece of evidence and the demonstration in the courtroom.
Sure, and that would have been good too, Tommy. That's another good, strategy, especially if that is the case, and then you really hit it home. I've got a clip here I want to play for you, please. This is where James Crumbly calls 911, and we know this call's been put into case evidence. The jury's heard it. Curious what you think of what he says on the call. Let's listen.
911, what's the location of your emergency? Okay, I'm not really sure. I'm at my house. There's an active shooter situation going on at the high school. My son goes to high school. I have a missing gun at my house. I need an officer to come to my house right away, please. I think my son took the gun. I don't know. I don't know what's going on. I'm really freaking out. My son's name is Ethan Crumbly.
Tommy, what do you think of that?
I think that honestly, he sounds sincere. I think that he's discovered now again his recklessness prior to that led for that opportunity is what he's really on trial for. But I could only imagine the horror, because I think the picture we've seen from the previous trial is the parents were kind of asleep at the wheel. The son had tremendous mental health issues. That's the worst combination of firearms and mental health. And I think he realized both on the level of what was happening to those students, what was happening to his son, but also the mistakes he'd made that, again, may not be intentional, but were intentionally reckless.
Right, Tommy. Speaking of Ethan's fixation on firearms, we were getting evidence of things that Ethan Crumbly sent to his friends. Here's one of those pieces of evidence. Let's look at it now.
That's August 19th, 2021. Do you know what he was handling in his hand?
There was a handgun.
And so you heard the date there, Tommy. That was August of 2021. So this was not the handgun he used to carry out the shooting in Oxford High School. This was a different gun. And so what does that say to you when you hear about this teenager who is struggling greatly with mental health difficulties, hallucinating, hearing voices, experienced increasing paranoia day in and day out. And he also has this fascination, this fixation with firearms. Talk to me, Tommy. Is this a recipe for disaster?
I mean, clearly, as we see it was, I was thinking about the mental health components, and we actually deal with this a lot. I'm in the legislature here in South Carolina, and had a bill where law enforcement could go, if you had a mental health issue, could go temporarily seize the weapons in the home, for safety reasons, for family members and others. Obviously, that flies up against the Second Amendment, so we've never been able to successfully get that through because people think you're trying to take their guns. But we've got to find a balance. We're not doing enough on our mental health issues, and it starts at the home. I assume the defense is going to, try to show that either, one, he didn't know, or two, there wasn't enough help for him, though. So, I grew up being trained by, my father was in law enforcement. I knew how to handle guns. I knew how to treat them all like they were loaded. Our guns weren't locked up, but I never laid hands on them. So there's a balance there, but I think there's a balance that we've got to take a stronger look at mental health.
Definitely, Tommy. You learned respect for firearms. Absolutely. And absolutely, I was talking about this with my radio friends this morning when I did a call before starting the show, and we were talking about how we all have a responsibility responsibility. Just like we take care of our bodies with the food we eat, the exercise we do, we've got to take care of our mental health as well. And if you're a parent and you got a minor child, you got to take care of their mental health too. Absolutely. Tommy Pope, I'm so glad you're on the show today. You're coming along with us as we head into James Crumbley's trial live. So that is all for this episode of Opening Statements, my friends. You could watch it. You can share it if you want. Again, just go to the shows tab on courttv.com.